Hi guys, for this week's Laser Talk, I thought we'd check out two completely different and unrelated films just for a little bit of variety. First one up is Stephen King's Sleepwalkers, another one trying to keep with the trend of seeing movies I've never seen before for the first time on LaserDisc, and sorry for a little bit of glare there, that's why I have the original sticker here, because it's in its original plastic, and I tried peeling it off a little bit and it started to rip the plastic, and I just kind of want to keep it nice. Don't have to get like a nice protective sleeve then. Good quality release here, no extras at all, but digital sound and a really nice print. It looked and sounded fantastic, so a good one here. And this is a remarkably entertaining movie for all the wrong reasons. It tries so hard to be creepy and scary, and for the first roughly 30 minutes or so, it actually really works. It's an odd movie because it starts off so strong and comes across as a completely different picture than the last, like, 2/3 of the movie. Things devolve into something that honestly would make a really, really good Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie. The last, like, 2/3, the whole movie wouldn't work because the first third wouldn't work at all, I don't think. Maybe they could do a really good riff track on it, but overall it just feels like the tone of the movie changes partway through. It starts off with these two sleepwalkers, these kind of giant, naked, almost cat-like vampires with ancient Egyptian origins, and they're some of the last, if not the last, of their kind. Utilizing that Egyptian origin, they have a fear of cats. Cats are attracted to them and will attack them, and they're their mortal enemy, and they will use different things. The sleepwalkers will use different camouflage abilities and things like that, not only to pass as human, but they can turn themselves invisible for limited periods of time and change the color and make of the car they're driving with different illusions, that type of thing. But cats are their worst enemies. And even that aspect by itself, I'll just talk about here, starts off like a pretty cool little backstory mythology type thing and just gets goofy as all hell in the end when they're, wringing cats in half and breaking their spines, and cats are jumping on them and attacking them. And in the beginning it comes across as pretty interesting, but towards the end it just becomes so goofy when they're killing these cats and the army of cats are attacking them and stuff. It really, I think that's one of the best quick examples to talk about how the pacing of this and the tone of this changes. It starts off really kind of creepy and eerie with, you have a mother and a son who are one of the last of their race trying to survive, and just rehashing the story over and over again. Their lives are constantly, they go to a new town and they try to get their lives together and they get run out of town, craziness happens, they move to another one, and how they survive is there's this kind of interesting relationship that, when you really think about it, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it works for the first part of this movie in creating a really interesting and kind of creepy vibe, where the son has to feed off of the virtue of, basically, the virginity of a young woman. He has to seduce and basically transfer the energy, suck out of her mouth, a very kind of standard thing here. But for the mother to feed off that energy, she actually has to have sexual relations with her son so he can transfer the energy to her, and sort of like the son feeds the mother. This sort of, it kind of interesting as sort of a backwards thing as far as the mother feeding the son. Now it's the son nourishing the mother through this energy, and it actually is really interesting. Their relationship is, of course, obviously through that method of feeding, from a human perspective, is disturbing, and they actually go into a love scene between the two of them, and it really starts this really creepy vibe, but it's very fascinating, and it's shot wonderfully in the beginning, and seeing a lot of the relationship and the idea of what these creatures are as that kind of unfolds, it does really well. And oh gosh, what's her last name? Alice Krieg? I could probably look at the back of the LaserDisc, but at first I'm like, I know this person. It's the Borg Queen. Oh my gosh, it's the Borg Queen. She, in the beginning, is incredible, and then towards the end I just start to feel bad for her, because throughout the entire course of the movie, she is the one element that maintains that high level of acting and that creepy, eerie vibe. And in the beginning, she is remarkable. She is the best part of this movie as far as the acting is concerned. Does a great job, but as the rest of the movie sort of devolves into this realm of just almost goofy, slapsticky comedy, I was laughing out loud for a good portion of this movie. She still maintains stone, just completely in, I am in a serious, creepy, eerie movie, I'm going all out, and you almost feel bad for her because she's giving such a good performance, and the movie around her is goofy as hell. But again, a good quality release here, and it was an entertaining movie, but like I said, for kind of all the wrong reasons. The beginning, it starts off so strong with what it's trying to accomplish, and then by the end, it's just funny as hell. But even though that kind of makes it not a very good movie because of the way it falls apart, it ended up being a pretty enjoyable movie for totally different reasons than it was attempting to be, and totally different reasons than I was expecting it to be. But if you go in thinking of it like that, the beginning is kind of interesting, and then it just becomes like entertaining in a very fun way. That's what that movie is. Moving on to another one I watched for the first time last night, Stallone in Lockup. And sadly, it is, again, one of those image releases where their cover art is horrible. I don't know what the heck they were thinking, but the majority, if not all, I mean, all the image releases that I've ever seen, they just kind of they take the VHS cover art, slap it in the middle, and put a disc behind it in the background, and that's their LaserDisc cover. It's terrible, but even though it's a terrible cover, it's not a bad quality release at all. And it's a pretty good movie. To me, Stallone is actually at his best when he's playing a more grounded and dramatic role, and I think a lot of his movies over the years became very much just interesting 80s action movies with bits of comedy. They went more of, I could say, like, compare the first Rocky to Rocky 4, and that change, that separation from reality. He still has good dramatic moments within a lot of those movies, but look at, like, Over the Top, some of the later Rocky movies, Cliffhanger, just, you go on and on to a lot of his movies outside of First Blood and the first couple Rockies. There are only a handful of examples where he really gives a true dramatic performance to where that is more of the focus than on the action. I think that there's a different dynamic there. One is not worse than the other, but my favorite Stallone movies tend to be the ones where the drama's first, the action's second. Those tend to be my favorites of him, and I think, though, sadly, I mean, not necessarily sadly, because they are really good, he's known, I think, more for the movies that are more action first and drama second, but this really is a good way of showing his acting abilities, because he's a better actor I think a lot of people give him credit for. He was nominated, obviously, for Best Actor for the first Rocky movie. This was a good movie, and again, one I had not seen before, so I didn't really know what to expect going in. It was great. I absolutely loved it. You know, not an absolutely perfect picture, but the story of a man who is generally a good person at heart, who committed a crime, is doing his time is almost up, he's in a minimum security prison, but he gets transferred to a maximum security prison underneath a warden that has a personal grudge against him. While Stallone's character was in jail, his father was dying, and he made a request just for basically, you know, a day pass, can I go see my dad in his final moments? You know, could have been with an armed guard, whatever. That's something that in a minimum security prison like that, that's more than likely going to be okay. I mean, it's not that huge of a deal. He's not going to go run off. He's has a reputation among the different inmates, and even the people that are running this prison, as like a genuinely good person who just did something wrong, is doing his time, wants to get out, and he's setting up his life outside of that, restarting his father's old garage and things like that, building a new life, and has a fiance, and he escapes the prison because this warden will not let him go see his father die, and it turns into this whole big thing, and basically Stallone is seen as being not necessarily in the right, but as virtuous, as it wasn't really considered something to add to his time, nothing more of a crime, and the warden went over the top with a lot of the ways he was punishing Stallone specifically, so the warden got transferred to this job that he hates at this really horrible, brutal, maximum security prison, and when Stallone has very little time left, he gets transferred over there and is sent there for 6 months, and the warden basically makes it his life's mission to make sure that Stallone either doesn't live to see the end of his sentence or is just sent through this living hell throughout the entire time he's there. And it turns into a really great prison drama. It actually is really good. A lot of interesting side characters are really part of what makes this work, and the relationship between them. I don't want to spoil a whole lot because it is interesting to see how the different relationships unfold, but there is a lot of really good drama and a story of just, it reminds me in some ways its spirit, in a different way is kind of like the first two Rockies, where it's just a story of a good man who is representative of these, sort of the embodiment of the human spirit of endurance and of just making it through at all costs and just will not fall down. That's sort of just like, I will not be broken down no matter what happens, I will get back up. That human spirit, and he's a good character, and he's set up to be in all these experiences where he's set up to try and and do something to make him stay in there forever. He's set up to where he's either going to be killed in prison or he's going to be pushed to the limit to where he does something that gets him sent, to prison for life then, or to the chair, something. But he makes it the whole way through, and it turns out to be, without spoiling the ending at all, turns out to be a really good conclusion. I was very satisfied with the way this movie turned out. So definitely one of the better, not the best, but one of the better examples of Stallone as a dramatic actor, and some still, again, a really great supporting cast. I think that's what really makes the movie work. It doesn't come across quite as cliched as it could have been as sort of a prison drama film if the supporting actors around him were not that great. So it really pulls together a fantastic movie here, a lot of fun, far better than I was expecting going in. And again, it falls into that vein of Stallone movies that I like the best, because it is one of the more drama-first elements of a Stallone movie, and two very different, obviously, but good movies here. So that's it for this week's Laser Talk, and I'll see you again next Friday for another Laser Talk, if not beforehand.